Hello dear students, this is Shamim Reja, Assistant Professor in the Department of English, Amranga Jugal Kishore Mahavidyalaya. I shall be reading with you Oedipus the King by Sophocles. Okay, Oedipus the King, also known as Oedipus the Tyrannus or Oedipus Rex, is a play by Greek dramatist Sophocles. I shall start with a short biographical sketch of Sophocles, but before that, let me suggest you uh, the books which you may refer to, and I recommend for your further studies. Of course, the textbook prescribed by university is Sophocles' the Three Theban Plays, translated by Robert Fagles, and introduction and notes given by Bernard Knox. It was published in the year 1984. It is easily available online, so you can easily download it and read it at home. Apart from this textbook, I shall refer to you two other guidebooks. Number one is by Lloyd Jones, Half Lloyd Jones. It was published in the year 1994. The title of the book is Sophocles, Ajax, Electra, Oedipus Tyrannus. Okay, it was edited and translated by Half Lloyd Jones. And the second book I refer and recommend is Jos Beer's Sophocles and the Tragedy of Athenian Democracy. I repeat, Sophocles and the Tragedy of Athenian Democracy. It was published by Greenwood Publishing House. It is a storehouse of information, and of course you can resort to the book for further studies on Sophocles and his Oedipus the King. Let's learn about Sophocles now, the dramatist. Sophocles was born in the year 496 BC, and he died in the year 406 in Athens. His name is reckoned along with two very renowned dramatists, Aeschylus and Euripides. Sophocles was few years junior to Aeschylus and a few years senior to Euripides. Sophocles, he was born in a very rich family. His father was a producer and dealer of war armors. He received a good education at a very early age and turned out an erudite person, respected and venerated by Athenians. A learned man at one hand and an athlete at the other, he soon became a favorite of Pericles, then known as the first citizen of Athens, as recorded by Plutarch, the historian. Uh, from the relatively meager informations that we can collect on Sophocles' civic life, we come to know that Sophocles had participated actively in his community services and exercised outstanding artistic talents, especially during the festivals. Now, other than these informations about the public life or the civic life of Sophocles, we do not have much information about his private life. Very little is known about his wife, his son, and what we come to know is he had a grandson. Okay, he had a grandson whose name was also Sophocles the Junior, and this Sophocles the Junior was responsible for staging many of his plays after the death of Sophocles. Another very controversial information, partly a rumor and partly acknowledged by none other than Euripides himself, that Sophocles was homosexual and fond of young boys. Keeping apart all the controversies, let's move on to the next section, which I have subtitled Sophocles the Dramatist. So Sophocles, as a dramatist, had won his first victory at the Dionysian Dramatic Festival in 468 BC, in which he defeated the great Aeschylus in the competition. This was the beginning of his successful career as a playwright, side by side his engagement in different offices in Athens. Sophocles is said to have penned not less than or written not less than 123 dramas in total for the festivals such as Dionysian Festival and the Lenaea Festival, in which competition for best drama is to be held. In such competition, usually a competitor dramatist had to submit or present four plays. Since Sophocles had written around 123 dramas, this means he must have competed about 30 times. And reportedly, out of these 30 times of his participation, he had victories in 24 competitions, and in the rest of the competitions, he was placed in the second position. Now, among 123 plays that Sophocles had written, only 7 of them do survive till date, and they are Ajax, Antigone, number 2 Antigone, number 3 Trachinian women, number 4 Oedipus the king, number 5 Electra, number 6 Philoctetes, and number 7 Oedipus at Colonus. Okay, apart from these 7 surviving plays, there is one satyr play, satyr spelling S-A-T-Y-R, satyr play entitled Trackers, 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 which exists only as a 400-line fragment. Please notice that I mentioned about satyr plays, and you must know what it is. The word satyr is in no way connected to the origin of the word satire, S-A-T-I-R-E. No, it is not connected to the word satire. Satyr play is a genre of ancient Greek drama or Attic drama. Ancient Greek drama was also called Attic drama, A-T-T-I-C, Attic drama, that preserves the structure and characters of tragedy while adopting a happy atmosphere and a rural background. What I mean is that the satyr play can be considered the reversal of Attic tragedy, okay, or ancient Greek tragedy. It was kind of joking tragedy, or the one which mocks the mainstream Greek tragedy. The satyr play was plays were presented directly after the tragic trilogy, okay, trilogy as the fourth play in competitions. They are regularly listed fourth in lists of plays put on at the Dionysian festivals in Athens. Now, in a satyr play, the actors play mythical heroes in a mythical story in which the chorus members are satyrs. Okay, satyrs in satyr plays, the chorus members were the satyrs. Now, who were the satyrs? Okay, mythically, satyrs are nature spirits who combine male human traits such as flaunting beards, hairy bodies, the flat noses, and then with an erect phallus, with the ears and tails of horses. The satyrs are contrasted with the main characters by their dancing, their love of wine, and their diverting banter and use of low language. Okay. This contrast, which is the special trait of satiric drama, served to alleviate the emotional tension of the tragic trilogy. Actually, these satyr plays were the very beginning of introduction of comic relief in tragedy. I hope you understood this part of the lecture. Now, once again, let's start with Sophocles, the dramatist. Sophocles has been a phenomenal um, influence, not only for his contemporaries but also for the entire posterior fraternity. He has brought a formidable impact on Aristotle, who references Oedipus Rex or Oedipus the king numerous times in his Poetics, and calls it a perfect example of tragedy. Aristotle's ideas of the 6 elements of tragedy were much the result of the influence that Sophocles had brought upon him. Lately, in the 20th century, Sigmund Freud resorted to the famous Oedipus story while explicating a certain part of his the unconscious theory of the unconscious. Okay, I'd like to quote that single line which Sigmund Freud invested for Oedipus that triggered renewed interest in Sophocles' Oedipus the King in 20th century and has continued to be so till date. It also engendered a plethora of critics on Sophocles himself and his plays. Let me now quote the line that Freud wrote. I'll start with quotation. It is the fate of all of us, perhaps, to direct our first sexual impulse towards our mother, and our first hatred, and our first murderous wish against our father. He referred to these two urges as the Oedipus complex. Okay, so I repeat once again, it is the fate of all of us, perhaps, to direct our first sexual impulse towards our mother, and our first hatred and our first murderous wish against our father. Unquote. Now, this is what is called the Oedipus complex theory. Okay, I should have explained you further on Oedipus complex as a psychoanalytic theory, but I skip it here to carry on with Sophocles as a dramatist. And yet I would urge you to read about this theory at your convenience, and also to learn about another psychoanalytic theory known as Electra Complex. It was propounded by Carl Jung from his reading of another Sophoclean drama entitled Electra. Okay, Electra, I have already mentioned it earlier that it is one of the seven surviving plays of Sophocles, and this drama had in fact was the very basis upon which Carl Jung had propounded or introduced his theory of Electra complex. Now, Sophocles, as a dramatist of exquisite and magnificent caliber, is credited with a number of major and minor dramatic innovations. First of such innovations I should mention of was his use of scenic paintings or other pictorial prop consistent to the setting of the play. It will be perhaps no exaggeration to say that when Aristotle conceptualized the idea of opsis, or the spectacle, as one of the six elements of tragedy, he had the drama Oedipus the King in mind. Okay. Second major innovation incorporated by Sophocles in a drama was his introduction of a third character or third actor in the dramatic performance. Introducing the third actor had increased the scope of the dramatic conflict, as well as made the plot more fluid and dramatic situations more complex. Now, this point I should explicate and explain further. As you already know, he was a Greek dramatist, another Greek dramatist. Spelling is Thespis. Thespis is credited with having invented tragedy. Okay, he had introduced the first actor in the acted drama. Previously, it was only there was only chorus. Okay, the Greek drama actually it consisted mainly of the chorus, and Thespis was the first dramatist to have introduced the first actor known as the protagonist. Then the protagonist what he did is he stood opposite the chorus and engaged in an interchange of questions and answers. So this was the basic format of Greek drama, to which Thespis added the protagonist and invented the tragedy as a new format of drama. According to Aristotle in his Poetics, Aeschylus brought in a second actor, or he's called deuteragonist, okay, and presented the first dialogue between two characters. Sophocles then added a third character or third actor, okay, the tritagonist, which enabled him to write more complex yet more natural dialogue. Now, the third innovation credited to Sophocles is that he increased the number of chorus from 12 to 15. Now, apart from the technical innovations that we discussed earlier, so far, finally we can focus on the dramatic, literary, as well as aesthetic achievements of Sophocles. I will not elaborate these points here, but once we complete the reading the drama Oedipus the King, I will once again return back to these points with considerable elaboration. So let's just remember the points below, which we shall keep in mind while reading the text. So the points here are, first, you must notice Sophocles' choice of the tragic hero, his rank, stature, his nobility, his hubris or the arrogance, etc., and how gradually he drags himself into the fulfillment of the destiny or fate, or say the curse that had befallen upon him. Now, secondly, you must also notice the use of language, or what Aristotle calls diction, particularly the language used by different characters and how they differ from one another with regard to the use of rhetoric, irony, pun, or any such devices, including marked exhibition of wisdom, intelligence, or wit against the foolishness and unwitting acts of characters. This will definitely help you to critically appreciate Sophocles' art of characterization. Remember that Sophocles was a master artist in characterization, especially for the vividness, integrity, and clarity in portrayal of these characters and their ability to either claim or disclaim our sympathy. Thirdly, since Sophocles had invented and introduced the third actor in drama, it gave him the poetic liberty to construct the plot in a complex way. Hence, you must be careful to observe the development of the plot, especially with reference to what Aristotle formulated under the umbrella terms such as peripeteia, anagnorisis, denouement, climax, etc. Overall, this will help you to understand the concentration and precision of Sophoclean dramaturgy and appreciate the dramatic effectiveness that crowned Sophocles apart from his contemporaries. So here I will end my first lecture on Sophocles the dramatist. In my second lecture, I shall continue with the introduction to the three Theban plays of Sophocles, and then introduce you to the text of Oedipus the King. Thank you.